I feel so sassy today.
I know
Get
you
over
do.
it.
Go.
I'm sorry. I don't do my makeup a lot.
I know. I know. Go.
Okay. Hey y'all, welcome back to Really Janet. I'm B,
And I'm Brand.
and today we are starting into our barn series about our house that was so haunted we had to leave it in the middle of the night, quite literally.
Yes.
And we moved in with our grandparents, and our mom and dad followed shortly after. To kind of give a little bit of backstory, our family, specifically the women in our family, have always been kind of sensitive to things. Spiritually, we've always been, I guess, fairly inclined where we can, kind of sense a vibe when we go into a place, or a lot of us, I know me for one, but a lot of us have stuff happen like with dreams, seen past loved ones. It's something that's a thing. That's kind of a little backstory. For example, whenever I was, 3 or 4 maybe, I actually saw my papa, our dad's dad, that had passed before I was born. I had never met him. I had never even really heard about him. They hadn't talked about him around me because they didn't want to confuse me. And I remember this as clear as day. One day I was sitting in the chair talking to him, and mom came in and asked me who I was talking to, and I remember saying that I was talking to Papa Roger, and that he said he loved us all and that he was okay. And he specifically, I'll never forget this, he said, "Y'all be careful in the woods. There are snakes up there." And the next day, we were up in the woods with our mom and our little dog Buster, R.I.P. Buster. And we were getting pine cones for a wreath because we're crafty like that, little fancy fall stuff. And there was a snake. I think it was a copperhead, wasn't it?
You and Mom had walked past it, and I was right behind you, and Buster went and laid down on top of it. I
Hmm.
saw it, and I screamed for my mom, and our dog came up around me and went and laid down on top of it.
Yeah, and then
Which he was a small dog. If he'd have got
yeah.
bit, that could have killed him.
Oh, definitely. But he laid down
He
on it.
didn't know,
We
thank
we
God.
shuffled away, and he followed behind us, and yeah, he was a
He
good
was
boy.
the best. But yeah, that
Yeah,
was wild.
that was one instance, and we've had little things here and there.
And I saw our mother's sister who passed away when she was 10 years old. I was probably four or five, and
Oh no, I wasn't
apparently,
alive then.
no, you were not alive. When I was probably 4 years old, B wasn't born yet.
We're laughing because she name dropped me again.
I did,
Yeah,
I didn't mean to.
yeah.
But apparently, I don't remember this, but my mom and my grandparents say that I saw my aunt, our mom's sister, who passed away when she was 10 years old in a car wreck.
Hmm.
Apparently, I saw her and she was waving at me and I was talking to her, and I don't remember it because I was like 4, but yeah, apparently I saw her too. So,
Mine and my husband's nephew, I won't say his name, but that's my dude. I love him. Anyway, he saw my husband's mom, who had passed away
oh, I didn't
when
know
he
that.
was little, and he was in the kitchen talking away and just jabbering. Apparently, this was before I came along, but they asked him who he was talking to, and he said he was talking to his Aunt Shannon.
Oh,
And my husband said that right after that, she apparently loved to play little tricks on him, from what he's told me. I didn't get to meet her, unfortunately. But he said right after that, a Dr. Pepper exploded on him. Like, it had been sitting on the floor, wasn't shaking up or anything. He went to open it and exploded. Ever since then, I'm not kidding you, like, probably 9 out of 10 Dr. Peppers he opens
mm-hmm.
explode on him. Yeah. Which is funny because we have a bunch of Dr. Peppers at the house right
That's
now, so,
sweet.
But we always say that it's his mom
And
messing with
off
him.
on another side note, but my oldest child, I'm convinced, saw my father-in-law one day when he was probably 4 years old. Described him perfectly, said he was waving at him, and there was nobody there, but he swears that he saw him.
He was telling me some weird stories earlier, and I don't know
He
if they're
also,
true or not.
well, he also likes to make up stuff sometimes.
He does, like,
But
he loves scary stories.
this was like he was genuinely like said he saw
Oh,
his
yeah.
grandpa.
No,
It
I'm
was
talking about
weird.
the ones today.
Yeah, he does like he likes to watch
He loves a good
spooky
scary
stories.
story.
So when we moved to the town that the barn house is in, because it's still standing,
Barely.
we had lived about 45 minutes away before that. And so we had moved to where the barn house was because Granny Janet, was getting older and she was also living by herself and she was just lonely. So she had a pretty big piece of property and she had our house and told my parents that they could move a single wide trailer onto it. So it worked out good for all of us at first till things started to get a little funky fresh and then, it wasn't so fun after that.
It wasn't so funky fresh.
No,
So
wasn't so fun.
I wanna give a little bit of backstory to how this house was acquired. Our great papa had a 63-acre farm in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. If you know where that's at, then you know it's very touristy, very expensive to live there or to buy property there, anything. Well, when he passed, the deed to the farm stated that it was supposed to stay in the family and it was not to be sold. We don't know what happened, but, to
Where'd my mic go?
put things
I do
short,
know what happened. Go ahead.
we in fact do know it.
We're trying to
Move past things.
move past it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
To put things as least confrontational as possible. We weren't there, but
We'll leave it at that.
essentially the deed was gone. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
But I personally would like to say, though, that as much as that part of the story sucks, I hold no resentment because if this hadn't all happened, I wouldn't know my best friend, Brittany.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have met my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And two of our nieces wouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I have no regrets.
Yeah, it really does suck. But at the same time, I believe with all of my heart that we just weren't supposed to be there because the way I see it, if we were meant to be there, God would have put us there.
That's
So,
fair. So, essentially, the farm and all 63 or so of those acres were sold. Again, no resentment or anything, but, the money kind of dwindled away fast. We'll just say that.
very fast.
Very fast. And
What we didn't need to say this too. Basically, our father was not, I guess, wasn't technically in the will, but he was supposed to. It was supposed to be split with him too, but
it was spoken, but it wasn't
it didn't
in
get
legal format.
yes, wasn't in legal format. So so he didn't get his share.
Yeah. The way that this property and this house, the barn house, was acquired from a con artist. This man essentially conned our granny out of about $250,000, which was this was in
The 90s.
this was like the late 90s, early 2000s, so obviously that's a lot more now. They realized what was going on after it was kind of too late, and when they threatened legal action, he claimed that he was a warlock, which doubtful.
Also,
But
our aunt was and still is sometimes, but she was especially back then very gullible. And so
she's funny, but she's very gullible.
B had just been born. And he had threatened that if they took legal action, that he was going to put a curse on B, and that he was going to go steal her from the hospital and her.
Gang, gang.
Which who
Whatever
says
the
that
kids
about a
say.
baby? First of all, that right there should just tell you who
Well, I mean,
he is. So
a
terrible person.
cracked out man who claims
Yeah.
he's a warlock and cons people out of a quarter of a
I'm not
million.
even judging him for being trying to be a warlock. I'm judging him for trying to be a baby healer.
I'm not judging for being a warlock. That's his
He
business.
wasn't actually a warlock. He was just
If
an
he
idiot who was
was.
trying to threaten us.
Yeah, he was
But go
not.
ahead.
But even if he would have been, that's none of my business. As long as you ain't messing with me, I don't really care.
He was trying to mess with you, though, sis. It's the thing.
Well, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's what irks me. He was trying to, freaking hex me and, steal me.
He knew
commit felonies.
He knew that our aunt. He could mess with our aunt. He couldn't mess with Janet because she was like, "Yeah, I'd like to see you try." But our aunt was more gullible, so he knew that he could kind of get under her skin.
I think at that point, Granny had endured so much trauma, she was like, bet.
Yeah. Yeah. She knew better.
Anyway, obviously they were like, let's protect B. Thankfully. which I don't think he would have done anything, but who knows? Because dude was scary in some ways.
He was a little scrawny thing. I mean, physically, like Dad could have took him.
He wasn't scrawny last time I saw him.
Really? He must have.
Yeah,
he
he
must have
was.
gained weight. He was. Oh, he's. Wah, 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 wah.
He's.
I'm not judging anybody who's because I am too.
I
But
mean, okay, he wasn't like.
he was scrawny back then.
Okay, he wasn't like massive whenever I saw him last, but I mean, he wasn't scrawny.
Like on Fluffy, where it's like he's got like the different degrees. He's like, I can't do the noise. Go ahead. I'm sorry. He's like, wah, wah, wah. I can't do it. It's hilarious though.
I
Like
believe
we're
you.
like,
I take your word for it. Anywho,
we're not judging him for being a bigot. I'm just saying
well,
that
clearly not. I'm a bigot.
back in the day he was like a scrawny little thing. Is all I'm
Yeah, I
saying.
mean that's completely irrelevant to the story. I
It
don't
is.
know.
That's just my opinion. But go ahead.
He just always gave me the creeps, and last time I
Because he
saw
was
him,
a
he
creep.
was
He was
extra
indeed a
creepy.
creep.
Anyway, he was I guess in some ways kind of in cahoots with this other fellow. I won't say his name. He's dead now, so it doesn't really matter, but I mean, who knows, his family might see it. Um said man, we will call him Grizzly. You know why that's funny?
Like a Grizzly Adams.
I mean, I'm so sorry.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
R.I.P. headphone users. I apologize. She knows why that's
Okay,
funny, but
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna leave it at that. Anyway, Grizzly was a real piece of shite. Shite. Anywho, he was he was a scumbag. He tried to poison Janet. Granny.
He did poison her,
Well,
actually.
he did.
So this was when our dad was a teenager, and he vividly remembers
They were at a
our
cookout.
yes.
Yeah. Basically, dude slipped something into her Diet Coke. Full circle, she loved her Diet Coke. She knew something was wrong pretty much immediately, so she went to the bathroom and made herself throw up. And didn't she, like, drink peroxide or something to
Um,
kind of.
maybe Dad
I
had
could be
to.
wrong on that. Can you even drink peroxide to
I
do
don't think you
something?
can. I
I
don't
think that's
know.
just with dogs, but I'm not
I
sure.
have to check with our father on that
I don't
fact,
know.
but
This was probably like. This was the 80s.
it was the
It
80s.
wasn't the 90s, like Kevin says, but.
Okay.
Anyway, she
Dad said
survived.
that she was out of it, and he had asked her husband at the time, had she been drinking, and he said no, she wasn't. He said, well,
He's
then
like,
why is
no,
she
just
acting
her
like this?
Diet Coke.
And so, like, Dad and her then husband had to help her to like the bathroom and stuff, and she like made herself puke and everything, and she passed out several times. She woke up the next morning feeling like crap. It was awful. He was known to put things in women's drinks. He was an evil man.
Yeah, very evil. But the thing about Janet is she was intensely stubborn. Did I just turn that off?
Probably.
No, I did not. Leave that in.
Anyway,
Okay, good. We're still recording. Just checking. She was intensely stubborn, like ridiculously
make you
stubborn.
want to pull your hair out stubborn.
Make you want to bite through the bumper of a Cadillac. Stubborn. That's stubborn.
Yes.
I liked that euphemism. I just had to use it.
Buns just got you next level. Go
I
ahead.
know, I'm feeling it. I'm gonna have to do buns every episode because I'm feeling myself right
I'm
now.
glad, girl. I'm glad.
Basically, I'm sorry we got off on a tangent and I'm cutting it out because I'm scared.
She's
Essentially,
dramatic.
I don't want to have to cut this out, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Sure, I'm dramatic. It's fine. So, she was very stubborn and, she wasn't gonna let that whatever he put in there take her down. She was running on pure spite and hatred alone. Like,
That's what she ran on till she took her last breath on earth.
yeah. I mean, she calmed down a lot, but I'm telling you, like, I truly think that the reason she made it as long as she did is because of pure spite. And, like, Just, yeah,
I would say so.
that's fine.
But basically, I don't remember if they confronted Grizzly about this or not,
Grizzly.
or he was just known to spike people's drinks.
I didn't know he was known for that. That makes him even bigger piece of crap.
That's what Dad said, that like
I didn't
people
know that.
said that he would spike women's drinks.
Long story short, Grizzly. I want to say it spicy like that.
I'm about to take your space buns down. You're too much right now.
Never. Anyway, he was wrapped up in all this with other dude. I won't say his name.
We didn't realize that they were connected till later.
We're gonna call the other guy Spike. Spike and Grizzly.
Okay.
Anyway, him and Spike were all entangled in this mess. Little. I was gonna do something cooler, and I couldn't think of anything cooler.
I don't know
I'm
what
sorry.
you're doing.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It's the dry shampoo went to my brain.
Okay, go ahead.
Spike actually lived 2 doors down from this barn house.
I
Okay.
can't believe you nicknamed him Spike.
Pause. Yes, Spike lived 2 doors down from the barn house. Okay, and
You could
pretty
wave at
much,
him from the yard. Like, that's how close he was.
yeah, and like very frequently we would be outside, and he'd be like out in his little. He didn't really have a yard; it was more of a gravel driveway kind of thing, and he would just like
Just stare at you.
just stare at you and be weird, and I'm like,
Yeah, he
don't
was.
abduct me. I'm like 8 years old now and kind of chubby.
He would have brought
You'll
you
have a
back.
struggle. Now back then, I was very shy and quiet.
He would have brought me back for
I would have
sure.
died.
He would have definitely brought me
You would have
back.
spent 5 minutes with your diva Hainan, and he would have been like, "Please take her back. I will pay you." You were a terror back
I
in the
was
day.
not a terror.
Not a terror in a mean way, but in a diva way.
I'm not a diva.
Absolutely.
You gotta have standards in life, okay?
You were a lot. I
I'm
love
still
you.
a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not as I'm very tame compared to what I used to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Becoming a wife and a mother has calmed me down. Sometimes.
Sure, Jan. Anyway, so essentially, Granny was stuck with this house and, obviously wanted to protect me from this may or may not be warlock, wannabe, whatever situation.
He was just a loser.
He was a loser, for
And he's
sure.
still alive, I'm pretty sure, so he's still a loser.
Is he?
He might not still be a loser. He might be dead. We don't know. Go ahead. Continue on.
He was a piece of crap. Okay.
Well, I'm not denying that, but go ahead.
Just saying. I'm sorry. I may cut that out. I may leave it.
Continue on. Onward.
Onward we go. Essentially, she sank what money she had left from her inheritance.
All of her money.
All of it. And I mean,
Yeah.
all of it. Into converting this barn the rest of the way into a house.
Yeah. It was really nice when they first started. She had a really nice deck and like a little
nice for a while.
sunbathing area. It was really pretty. It went downhill pretty fast.
Yeah, which to be fair. No.
Stop.
Do you watch Letterkenny? Or have you watched it?
No, I have no clue what you're talking about.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. Now, every time I say to be fair, that just runs through my head. It's fine. But to be fair,
Okay.
she was already getting to a point where she was not in great physical health. And so, she wasn't able to upkeep it the way she wanted to. And then our aunt moved into the basement portion, which would later become like our living room.
She might have worked maybe about a year into her living in the barn house, but it wasn't too long.
Mhm.
She had went on ahead and retired.
But as Brian said earlier, that was actually why we moved to this property, was to help take care of her because her health was kind of declining physically. Yeah. What's weird though is that she moved there without knowing anybody, but her mom, our great granny, graduated from the high school that is in this town.
So she does have like a few very, very distant cousins, but nobody that like she was close to.
This barn had already been not only a barn, but a 2-story loft. It had been a gunsmith shop and at one point a drug house. Okay.
It had been a garage too.
It had also been a garage, yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a lot of work to be done. The downstairs, basically they had to do sheetrock, and most of it, I think there was a little bit already done.
Yeah, it was
From
it was
what
a
I
shell.
understand,
Yeah,
I could be wrong about that. The only things that were already down was like the flooring, and I think maybe some of the sheetrock.
yeah.
This may be important. We'll get there. The
No.
upstairs was not finished at all either, so they had to completely do everything up there pretty much. But she finally made it into a home, and it was absolutely beautiful in the beginning. Her house always creeped me out. In the upstairs, I always felt like somebody was watching me, specifically if I was in the bathroom or if I was in our granny's bedroom, which would later become our parents' bedroom. The way it was laid out, you would come up the stairs and like kind of turn around this banister, and over here was the living room, and then there was like an open kitchen there, and then as you walk past the kitchen, there's the bedroom door, and then you went through that bedroom to get to the bathroom. I remember seeing like the silhouettes of cats, like ghost cats, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean, I loved that because I've always loved cats, you know. Crazy cat lady here. What's up? But I loved that though, which I found out later. I did a little research on it, and I don't know if this is correct or not. Feel free to, you know, correct me or enlighten me on this in the comments. But I read somewhere that it's supposed to be like a protection thing. I don't know if that's true, but
Hmm.
the first few years there were mostly normal. I mean, we had some weird things happen there, little things here and there, but it really all kind of got worse in around 2011. I think I said 2012 before, but now that I think about it, I believe it
It was
was.
2000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Dad's doppelganger. It's trailer.
Excuse me? Okay, nope, sorry, we're going back to the trailer.
Did I not tell you
No, you
this?
did not. Tell me more.
This was something that scared me really bad. It was in the summer, and I don't remember if you were.
Well, this would have been way before
Oh,
2011.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
this would have probably been like 2006, 2007. Our dad had told me that he was going to go lay down in the bedroom. So I was like, okay, cool.
I already don't like this.
All of a sudden, I looked over and I saw what I thought was our dad at the refrigerator. And I said, hey, I thought you were taking a nap. And he turned around and looked at me, didn't say anything, and then just disappeared right in front of my eyes. And so I was stunned for obviously a minute. And I went and I ran into the bedroom. And sure enough, our dad was laying there snoring. But the thing was,
I hate
is it
everything about
had
that.
whatever it was, is it had on a different outfit than our dad had on that day. It was one of his outfits. It looked just like one of his normal outfits that he would wear, but it was a different one than he was wearing that day. Because I looked at him and I thought, why did you change clothes? And like what are you doing? I thought you were taking a nap. But it was not him. But it didn't say anything to me. It just looked at me and then disappeared.
That is extremely unsettling, and I never
I
do that.
have not told that story many times because it scared me that bad. As we do this, I'll probably remember more stories, honestly, that I've just blocked out because
Thanks, I hate it.
we grew up that was like, you just don't talk about it. I mean, we would tell
And
our
look at us
mom,
now, sharing it all on the YouTube and the podcast.
we would tell our mom if something really scared us, but it was more like, if you saw something, just pray about it and go on.
Yeah, if you saw something, no, you did
So
not.
I haven't, I don't think that our dad even knows that story, to be honest.
You should tell him.
I probably will now because it's been long enough. It probably wouldn't scare him, but yeah, it was freaky. It was freaky. It moved just like him and everything, but never spoke. Like I said, it was wearing different clothes than he had on that day. Still his clothes.
Thanks,
We
Mom.
don't live
Got
there
him.
now. It's okay. I mean,
Yeah, but ugh.
and then I had saw. I don't know if you would describe it as a hat man, but it was a shadowy man.
Don't say that. Don't say those words.
Oh, oh, am I not allowed to say that?
Me and husband. Reminds me of Brick from the Middle where he whispers everything. Sorry.
Yeah.
We call it either Batman or Matman because you're not supposed to say it.
Oh, like you're not supposed to say what a SW is?
Yeah, flesh pedestrian.
Yeah, okay.
Or a walker
Okay, we'll
of the
cut that out.
skin persuasion.
Okay, cut
Quote
that out.
unquote. No, we'll leave it. It's fun.
And I don't think that that's what it was. It was just I've heard descriptions of that, and that's kind of I don't think
Well,
it had a hat.
the thing is, I never knew that. I remember seeing something like
Mhm.
that, and hubby, he had that experience when he was a kid too.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, I
and
will
it
say,
terrifies him to this day
yeah.
as a 33-year-old man.
So what's really crazy is that when I had that experience with the shadowy whatever it was, I was on the phone with my sister Nikki. She has been my best friend's sister since the first day of kindergarten. I was on the phone with her when this happened, and that would not be the only paranormal encounter I would have while I was on the phone with her. I was actually supposed to be sleeping. It was on a school night, and me and her were up yakking about boys.
Surprise.
Yeah, I know. My light was off in my room, but I had the door open so the hallway light was on, and I just saw it standing there, and then it disappeared, and it scared me so bad that I would not sleep in my room for probably 3 weeks after that. I slept on our couch. That really wasn't much better because, I had saw that, I'd saw stuff in our living room too, so it really wasn't much better. I had a little bowl, like kind of near my vanity that had ponytails in it. Elastics for anybody that doesn't call it a ponytail, that you put your hair up
Ponytail
in.
holders,
Ponytail
whatever.
holder.
We always called it a ponytail.
A ponytail.
That's whatever.
So I had a little bowl of them, and we're laying there in the dark, talking and giggling and stuff. All of my lights are off, my door's closed, and all of a sudden I feel a ponytail holder hit me like right in the side of the face. I was like, what the crap? And it was coming from this direction.
Why'd you just hit me?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It was coming from this direction. And April was laying down here. So there's no way it could have been her. So I was like, hey, will you flip on the light? Obviously, I didn't tell her something. It just hit me in the face because she wouldn't have got up. She got up. And sure enough, it was one of my specific colored ponytails that I kept in the little jar across the room. And I have no explanation for it.
Very, very interesting.
It was very scary. And we slept with the light on for the rest of the night. I didn't tell her what happened because I didn't want to freak her out. But
the hallway at the trailer always creeped me out. I didn't
Mhm.
like to go through there at night.
Mhm.
But I also, my closet, I didn't like it either.
No, I hated your closet. I didn't like your room at all.
My closet had a name written in the back of it.
Really?
Yeah, it was something with an L. Because I remember, I've always loved how a cursive L looks. I don't know
Mhm.
why. I don't know what the name was.
I didn't
But
know
there was a
that.
name, and it wasn't with, marker or anything.
Mhm.
It looked like,
I digress.
okay, so you know that, it was, kind of looked like corkboard, but it wasn't.
Like the wood paneling.
Yeah, but drier. The texture was drier.
It'd been burnt. It was crispy.
No, not burnt. Which actually, I could be wrong, but now that you say burned, I feel like there was a weird, like whenever you go to light a candle
Mhm.
and it kind of makes the black ring around the
Mhm.
thing. It was kind of like that. There was a little spot on the
Did
back
you
of the
ever
closet.
paint your closet?
No,
So it's probably still there.
unless
We could go look.
Old Crazy painted over it.
Oh god, yeah, we'll get into that later. We'll get into that later.
We may. I don't know if I have the mental capacity for that.
I have enough spite and mental capacity. We'll get into it.
Found
Not tonight, but
found her TikTok the other day.
oh, I creep on her on all social media platforms. We'll just say that.
Okay, well, I'm probably gonna cut that.
You know how to cut your sassy space bug comments, but you can cut mine, I guess.
Okay, I'll leave it. Anywho,
I keep up with her, is all I'm saying.
keep tabs, but
Lurking, but never twerking. Because I can't do that. But I am always lurking.
okay, good for you.
You can cut that, though.
I'm not cutting that.
It was supposed to be funny, but you didn't.
It
you
was
didn't
funny.
think it was funny. No,
I was laughing on the inside.
No, whatever. You can cut that out.
Anyway, it looked like somebody had wet their finger and did it like that.
Yes, I do remember this. Yes, yes.
It wasn't like paint or marker or
Again,
anything.
it could have been blood.
Maybe, I don't know. All I know is that closet freaked me out. Like, there were nights I would lay awake terrified, feeling like something was watching me
It
from the
didn't have a
closet.
door on it either. Let's add that.
I think
Wide
there was
open
something up with that
spaces.
closet. I have a thing
Hmm.
with closets, apparently, if you recall from the first episode, but this was my very first closet of my own
Yeah.
ever. But it literally looked like they had taken water on a paintbrush, wrote their name, and then
Yeah.
it dried like that.
We'll have to go take a gander one day.
Kind of getting back to what I was originally saying. So, in around the summer ish of like 2011, me and Bram were home alone because our mom doesn't drive. So, our dad was going to pick her up from work. And the way our living room was, okay, so whenever you were outside and you were walking in, there was a little walkway and it came up to one of the doors that have like 12 little windows in it, like all the way down. And then you walk in, you're in a tiny little foyer. There's like a little side room straight in front of you, and then to the left is the entryway to the living room. Okay, so whenever you walked into the living room, the in the door if you're standing in the doorway, the couch was right here, and then like straight in front of you was a recliner, and then I think there was a second recliner if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. And
Hmm.
then in front of the couch, of course, there was like a little table, and then the TV was like over here somewhere. You could see from the end of the couch, you could see, through the door and anybody who was standing on the walkway. Except we had like a little sheer curtain up, so like you could, but you couldn't see. Like you could just, general shapes. Me and Bran, we would sit as close as we could to that door every day because we did not have internet back then. So we would steal Wi Fi from the neighbors. And
Very poor Wi-Fi, I might add.
yeah, it was crappy.
It took us forever to get anything
But it was
accomplished.
better than nothing. And
It
we had
was.
MySpaces
We
and
were
Facebooks
grateful.
to check.
We were
So,
grateful for what we had, for sure.
yeah. Oh, when I tell you, okay, so this is not entirely related, but we had a rocking chair. That was one of the other chairs that were in there.
Hmm.
We had a rocking chair, and I would get that rocking chair in that little tiny foyer, and I would prop myself up right there up against the door, and I would sit there for hours and code my MySpace and
Yeah.
get the coolest little things on there.
And honestly, our neighbors could probably see you.
Oh, they absolutely could, and they just let it
It
happen.
was
But you know
nonsensical, but
what? They had Wi-Fi without a password, so that was
that
on
was
them.
on them. I agree. It was.
They could have put a password on it at any given time in that like 6 years.
I agree.
So, what I'm getting into now is what we referred to in the last episode as the Blake Shelton incident. Okay?
Poor Blake Shelton was not directly involved in
No.
this.
And you know what? Yeah, I nothing towards him. He just unfortunately happened to be unknowingly involved in this.
Yes.
Yeah, not directly. He wasn't there, but
No. No. No.
yeah.
He was on the TV. That's the only way he was involved.
We were watching Top 20 Countdown. That's why Blake Shelton is relevant to this. We heard it sound like somebody talking, and I couldn't really see through that sheer curtain. So I was, looking, trying to see, and I could see a shadow of something, but I couldn't make anything out. And so we were freaked out. We thought we were getting robbed because
Yeah.
our dad was, at our uncle's house, like,
45 minutes
yeah,
away.
45 minutes away. We were scared. We thought we were getting broken into. That door was locked. We always kept the doors locked anyway. And,
Hmm.
I mean, we still are that way. But we hurried up and, made sure that whoever this was couldn't see us. We checked all the doors because technically there were 3 doors in that room that could lead to outside. There was the
Hmm.
garage door, that front door, and then there was a side room door, but that side room led to the garage, so you technically could have got in
We
there too.
also thought that what we did, we heard it sounded like somebody talking coming from the garage too.
Yes,
Remember? So we thought that it was
I
a few
forgot about that.
people casing the place out that we were about to get robbed.
Thank you for bringing that back to my memory because I forgot about that. Of course, I heard somebody at the door, but then we thought we heard somebody in the garage too, so we were panicked. We grabbed the dog, our little Chihuahua Yorkie mix, Buford.
Buford.
Rest his soul, I miss him so much.
Bewee.
But yeah, he passed away last year, and he was 15.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, broke our hearts, but
Yeah.
he lived a long life. That's beside the point. I'm sorry, getting off track. So anyway, we grab him and we, start booking it upstairs. We even locked there was a door
Yes.
at the bottom of the stairs. We even locked that one because we were like,
Mhm.
we're going to make this as hard as we can if somebody's trying to get in here. I remember we had left the remote on the coffee table,
Mhm.
and that's very specific too. You'll
We
see
had
why.
turned down the TV so that we could hear too.
Yeah, yeah, we had turned it down to like where you could, it was like maybe level 2 volume so we could try to hear what was going on. So we get upstairs, we run into mom and dad's room, the one that I said is the most terrifying,
Mhm.
and it had a deadbolt on it, which looking back, that was really weird.
It honestly wasn't weird. That was not the weirdest thing in that house. You needed a deadbolt like on every door in
I
that
mean, that's
house.
fair. That's fair. Anyway, this bedroom door had a deadbolt on it. And so we, shut the door, locked the normal bolt, got the deadbolt locked. We were sitting on the bed with the dog, and he was shaking, which, I mean, he
Yeah.
was a Chihuahua Yorkie mix. So he kind of
Mhm.
shook on a base level all the
Yeah.
time, but this was like trembling. Like
Yeah.
he was freaked out by something.
We heard something trying to open the bottom door to come up the stairs
Yeah, well, and we kept hearing
and
doors. We
footsteps.
kept hearing the doors slamming.
Yeah.
We were just freaked out. We thought they were coming in. We even heard the door at the bottom of the stairs like open and slam because it was a hollow door, so it had a very distinct sound. We were panicking. We called dad and we were like, please get home. We think somebody's breaking in. Blah blah.
Heard people's voices too.
Yeah, heard people's voices. So he's rushing home. He thinks there's a robbery going on. We think there's a robbery going on. And we're sitting there trying to be as quiet as we can just in case they were on the other side of the door in the room we were dead bolted into.
Mhm.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think we heard footsteps too, did we not?
We did. We heard footsteps come up the stairs and come to like right in front of the door we were at. And
Yeah.
let us add, because you're probably thinking, well, why the heck didn't you just call the cops? We'd had enough crazy stuff happen in this house already
Hmm.
that we knew that there was a possibility that this was just whatever,
Hmm.
haunting stuff was going on at this house.
Yeah.
Because it just logically didn't make any sense. We knew that we had already locked the doors, but yet we were hearing them slam, stuff like that. So
Hmm.
that is why we didn't immediately jump to calling the police.
And not only that, like the police force at that time was not very great. So we were like, are there really going to be help
It would have
if they
took
do
them
show up?
forever to get out there anyway.
Yeah, dad could have already been home and,
Yeah.
you know, put the people's elbow on some robbers by then.
Or the robbers could put the people elbow on him, depending on how many there were.
I
But
mean, that's true. Dad he was a bigger boy back then, though. That was before he
if it would have been
lost
like
all that
five
weight.
against one, then yeah, he'd been.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he
And we
also
thought that it would have been like five against one
he
because
also
it sounded
has
like multiple people.
he also has bad knees, so
Yeah,
probably he would have got the people's elbow.
he would
Bless his
have.
heart. Uh,
They'd have heard how he felt about it, though. They would have.
oh yeah, for sure. So like the footsteps, the voices, all that stops, and it gets dead silent, and then all of a sudden we hear the TV slowly start to turn up and it goes to full blast, and I'm talking like
Hmm.
the stuff of nightmares. And
Blake Shelton was screaming at us,
nothing
actually.
nothing towards Blake Shelton, but it's so much more horrifying to me now. Just Blake Shelton screaming at us through the walls. Not
Not
that
angrily. He was just
no, he was
singing.
singing. He was
But
singing, but it was so loud that it felt like he was yelling into my
yeah,
soul. Yeah, TV full blast, just blaring Blake Shelton, and that's the stuff of nightmares already.
yeah.
But no offense, Blake, if you ever see this, which I know you won't, but it's fine. So we sit there and we're looking at each other. We're panicked. We're like, what is going on? Like, because, my first thought when this happened is we're going to die because
Yeah.
every crime scene you hear,
Mm-hmm.
like of somebody being murdered where there's
Mm-hmm.
music involved, it's always
Yes.
them turning it all the way up so that
Mm-hmm.
nobody can hear the screams.
Yeah. We have a
And
family murder story, actually, that involves that. We might get into later.
yes, we do. We may
We'll
get
do
into
that
that
later.
because
Yeah.
I think the person who allegedly gave the deathbed confession
Mm-hmm.
has already died. So
Yeah. But same thing. It was the music got really loud, so that was the first thought. I was like,
I was like, we're
we're
gonna die.
we're about to go out like our uncle. Somebody's about to kill us. Our great uncle at that point. But
Yeah. It was
That
terrifying.
was our first thought, was that they were turning up the music really loud so that they could
Horrifying.
knock us off. Cut that. That sounded too close to knock up. So they could bump us off. That's what the mobsters used to say.
Just say so they could kill us.
So they could kill us. There.
There were like 15 failed euphemisms for killing
Whatever.
just then.
Shut up.
I can't, there's only 2. So we're sitting there freaking out because, Blake Shelton's screaming into our souls. And all of a sudden, you start to hear it slowly turn all the way down. And we were just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And so we sat there for probably another 15, 20 minutes, just dead silent, like
crying
as silently as we could. That way, if somebody still was there, they wouldn't hear us. And finally, Dad calls us and he's like, hey, I'm in the driveway. I don't see any cars or anything. Like, come on down. I am walking towards the door.
He went to every entrance.
Yes.
They were all locked. The windows were locked. Everything was locked.
Our windows didn't even open. They weren't the kind that opened. They just were solid windows. Yeah, the doors and windows were all locked, which I just found out that the windows, in fact, opened. I thought that they did not. That's why we had a little cut there, because we were discussing what windows opened and closed.
Granny Janet had me crawl through one of the basement windows one time because she had locked herself out of the house.
Not surprised she
did
that.
And I was the only one that could fit through at the time.
There was no sign of anybody being anywhere. Nothing was touched. But whenever we walked into the living room, the remote was sitting exactly where it was when we left it, and the TV was turned off now. And at this point, Dad hadn't even walked in.
No.
Like, he was still, like, checking the outside doors before he came.
The perimeter.
Yeah, before he came to the main door to come in. Nothing was
completely
touched.
Off.
So that was terrifying.
Yeah. So, as B had said earlier, we had 2 recliners in our living room. One was pretty much right next to the front door. One was just right next to that. So they were both very close to the front door. I was sitting in the chair closest to the front door.
Still in Wi-Fi again.
Still in Wi-Fi. B was right next to me in the other recliner. And had you dozed off, or did you have your headphones in? I feel like you had your headphones in at first.
I was really into 3 Days Grace at that point, so I was probably listening to the same song on repeat for like 2 hours straight.
So our dad had went to get our mom at work, and we knew that he had to drop something off to Granny Janet. I don't remember what it was. That doesn't matter.
Probably Diet Cokes.
Probably Diet Coke and graham crackers.
Yeah, definitely probably graham crackers or saltines or milk and magnesia. She had stomach problems. Carry on, please. Thank you.
So I knew that he had to make a pit stop by Granny's before he came home. So I was sitting there watching TV, doing whatever, still on Wi-Fi, like she said. And I hear what I thought was my parents talking, specifically my dad. I thought it was my dad talking. Couldn't make out what he was saying, but heard a man's voice, and then heard keys jingling and heard the doorknob rattle, saw the doorknob rattle, and then nothing. Dead silent. And I thought, what is he doing? So I'm confused. So I give it just a second. And I call my mom and I say, what are y'all doing? So I'm confused as to why they haven't came in the house yet. Because I got up to look out the door because I thought maybe he got the wrong set of keys and I was just going to be nice and unlock the door myself. And I said, Mom, what are y'all doing? She said, well, your dad ran something into your granny. And I'm sitting out here in the truck waiting. I could tell that she was really trying not to tell me something, but
she was unsettled.
And I told her what happened. I said, well, I heard Dad's voice. I heard key jingle. I heard the knob turn and saw the knob turn. And then it was nothing. So I was just wondering what y'all were doing. She said, well, I wasn't going to say anything, but now that you mentioned what happened to you, she said about 2-3 minutes ago, I was sitting here in the truck and I looked over. Now, this is broad daylight, keep in mind. This was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. She said, I saw a brownish gray figure, was not black. It was like a brownish gray figure walk up onto our sidewalk and then stop at the front door. She couldn't make out any details, but stopped right at the door and just disappeared.
Relating to that instance, she told me later that like a couple days before that, she had had a nightmare where she was sitting in the truck in the
Mhm.
driveway
Mhm.
and saw a figure, and that she looked over and Spike was like out in the yard sacrificing black cats and doing like dark magic and stuff. Which, here's the thing. Okay, so we had one little mama cat, Precious. There was a little stray cat that, came along to the house that we had lovingly, I should say, to not, spark any weirdness, we had lovingly named her Michelle Duggar because this cat had so many kittens, and we couldn't get her tame enough to like let us capture her and go have her spayed. Like we couldn't get a hold of her to take her. So, don't come after us. And also this was a long time ago.
Nice.
But if we could have gotten a hold of her, we would have gotten her spayed. It's just
Yeah.
we weren't able to trap her. She was too smart. Like she was very sweet. Like she would let
She
you pet
was.
on her and she would rub up against you, but if you tried to pick her up, she was like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
let me run for my
Mm-mm.
life. Anyway, her and like 18 of her cats, of her children, if you will, they hung out in our garage essentially, and we fed them, because we didn't want anything to happen to them. Nobody else was going to. So we had our little dog Buford. Speedy was there, yes, our little black and white cat.
Mhm.
But he was
He was elusive at that point.
yeah, he liked to go in and
He
out.
liked a
Which,
tomcat.
by the way, the Blake Shelton incident, he was outside. He was not in the house. So it was
No.
not him making racket. I just want to clarify.
No.
Anyway, so we had like 18 solid black cats. I'm talking like jet black, solid black cats outside. And so mom had that nightmare, and obviously she was worried about our little strays that we were feeding. So in the dream, she had saw, like, was in that same spot
Mhm.
in the driveway, sitting in the truck, and could see that
Mhm.
exact thing that she saw a couple days later.
Yeah.
And, Spike sacrificing our little strays.
Which wouldn't surprise
It wouldn't
me at all.
surprise me, but, like, it all tied into, like, this big, horrifying, like, scary,
Mhm.
demonic thing that was going on
Yeah.
in her dream. So this had all happened, we were all very on edge. Dad was, I think which he has admitted to me now,
Mhm.
that he had a lot of experiences there,
Yeah.
but at the time, he was feigning skepticism as to not scare us worse. He was
Which didn't
trying
work
trying to
because we knew it
trying to
was.
be the strong one. I love you, Dad. Love you so much. He is a strong one. Um,
Oh my god! Go ahead.
he's a funny one. Um, he's me with a goatee, essentially.
Yeah.
No, really, I look just like my dad. So, what had happened was Brandy at this point was like, "Nope, not staying here." So I had stayed home that day while her and Dad went to go pick Mom up from work because Texas Chainsaw Massacre was on, and I love that movie, and the OG one, which is my favorite. Fight me. Anyway, it was on. I wanted to watch it, so I stayed there by myself, despite me, being terrified. Little Buford, little chorky Buford, he was glued to me while we were there because he was scared too. Like,
Mhm.
he would hide in clean or dirty clothes, didn't matter to him.
Mhm.
He's a dog. But he would hide in the clothes with his little snoot sticking out and like just his eyes and snoot, and he would just shake.
Yeah.
And like the laundry looked like a bowl of jello because he was just trembling, and
Yeah.
but he would always have his face out so he could watch. I had Buford with me. It was just me and him. I was freaked out, but I really wanted to watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre because that's who I am as a person. So I really wanted a sandwich. And your girl was starving. I was watching the movie on Brand's side of the room because she had a full size bed, and I don't know, it was comfy. No other reason.
A full
But
size bed, but not a full size TV. The TV was
the TV
itty
was like
bitty.
this big, and it was one of the box ones from the 90s that like didn't have a remote, so you had to like.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I decided to go make a sandwich. So the way it was set up, I kind of explained it briefly earlier, but you walk up the stairs, and there's at the top of the stairs there's a banister. Okay, and like back here is where mom and dad's room is, and then right here's the kitchen, and then as soon as you top the stairs, that's where mine and Brand's rooms were. It was technically like a big open room because we were planning on building a divider wall, but we never did because it was haunted and we left. But I have Buford in one hand, and I was freaked out because the banister, where I was making my sandwich, it was right next to mom and dad's open bedroom door, and the lights were off, and it was just freaky. And it was hot outside, okay? And the upstairs always stayed super hot, even in the winter. Like it was, All of a sudden, like I just get this really creepy feeling like something's watching me. So I'm spreading my mustard as fast as I can, have Buford in this arm, and I'm like, come on, you got this. And I feel, like I said, it's blazing hot up there. I feel an ice cold just whoosh of wind come out of their bedroom right at me. There's no fans on, there's no AC on, there's nothing. Because they couldn't keep up there, the ACs. There was no source for this wind whatsoever. It was ice cold, and I was like, oh God, my whole body just froze up. And all of a sudden, I hear, like right here in my right ear next to this doorway, like a man's laugh, but it sounded so just demonic and just bone chilling. Right, like, oh, I can't even. It gives me the ick, as the kids say.
As the kiddos say.
Anyway, so I ditched the sandwich altogether. I said, nope, no turkey, no cheese, no mustard. I'm out of here. So me and Buford, we go running. And, well, I mean, he wasn't running. He was in my arm. I was running. I go sailing down the steps. There were 11 stairs, and I know this to be fact because, one, 11 is my favorite number, and two, every time I don't know if you know this about me, but every time I walk up any form of stairs, I count them as I walk. I walked up those stairs thousands of times over the years, and every single time I counted.
Felt those stairs many times, all 11, because I fell down them so many times.
She has fallen down them multiple times. I think you were pushed a couple times.
I do. I sincerely. There was one time that I know I was pushed.
I'm booking it down the stairs. There were 11, but I may have touched 4. Okay,
That's a wee bit dramatic. But
no,
okay.
no, I'm not even joking you. At one point I was sliding. Like, I don't even know if my butt hit them or if I just kind of glided. Glazed over it. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. I don't remember. I swear I blacked out going down those stairs. But
I've done it before. I understand.
Well, you blacked out because you fell down them and slammed into the door head first.
I've also blacked out because of fear.
That too. So I run outside. Like I said, I ditched the sandwich. I ditched Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all of the above, except for Buford. He's the only thing I didn't ditch that day. I went and sat outside, and I stayed out there until everybody got home, and then I went upstairs, and I made a new sandwich because by then everything had been sitting so long it was not, food safe, Don't want any airborne pathogens.
It hadn't been for that long.
I'm just kidding. No, it was like a good probably, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes. Because y'all had left early. And this was like pretty early on. Anyway, I was scared to eat it because I had cheese on it. So
you probably fed that to Buford.
Probably. He loved cheese.
He did.
He loved everything.
He did. He loved everything.
He would eat anything that didn't eat him first.
That's true.
After this day was when things got really weird. I started having these horrifying dreams about a woman and a man. In every dream that I had about this couple, I just want to clarify, I've never seen this couple before in my life in person or anything like that, only in these dreams. This couple, their aspects never changed. They always looked the same. They were always wearing the same things. Nothing ever changed about them. In my dream, or nightmare, should I say, she was like bleach blonde, always wearing a white shirt and like kind of like blue jeans, but maybe not quite blue jeany. I don't know how to explain that. And in all of the dreams, she was heavily pregnant, like 8 or 9 months pregnant. She was anywhere between like 5'9", 5'10", something like that. She always just kind of had this meek, kind of sad vibe about her, or like she was just tense, like she was, scared of doing something wrong.
Walking on eggshells.
Yes, thank you. Like she was walking on eggshells, kind of that vibe. The man always had this very, like, dominating presence. He had brown, shaggy hair, maybe around 5'10", 6 foot, and he was always wearing the same, like, kind of like brownish, orangey, collared shirt kind of deal, and blue jeans. So, in my first dream, I was walking through the woods and I stumble upon this brown leather purse and a digital camera. So, in my dream, I pick up the purse and I'm looking at it, and I pick up the camera and I'm looking at it. And so I turn it on and I'm about to go to the pictures and I hear something and I look up, and this woman, this very pregnant woman, is fighting for her life, hanging from a rope from this tree in front of me. And she's like trying to get herself loose, trying to say that like he had done this to her. And I could see something out of the corner of my eye coming. And I look over and he's like rushing at me, like with this crazy look on his face. And I'm like, oh God, I'm going to be next, you know? So I'm trying to run away, but where I'm standing is like muddy quicksand. And I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't get my legs out. Every time I'd have a dream about this couple, I would always wake up at 3 a.m. on the dot. And it always felt like something was watching me. And I saw it multiple times. It was a shadowy brown figure standing at our door, staring, like pretty much just watching over. And every time I would wake up and I would see it, I just felt paralyzed. Like it was like full on paralysis. I don't even know how to explain that any better, but this happened, gosh, I mean, I was taking Benadryl and knocking myself out every night for months because I was so scared. And something that I want to just stress for the next episode is I want you to remember that brown leather purse, because that actually does end up being very important later, and it's definitely something you're going to want to remember. I think that's where we're going to wrap up part 1. We have much more to come, many more stories.
Yes.
We were terrorized in this house, and I just kind of wanted to mention that particular part of the story because once I started having these dreams about this man and woman, and I started trying to figure out who they were, whatever was in that house started physically and mentally attacking all of us, but especially me and her.
Yeah.
My personal experience, I feel like, and I don't want this to sound douchey, but I feel like it was the worst of like the big crescendo of experiences. But I don't want that to sound like we'll have it worse, because I don't mean it like that.
No,
You know,
it's
I don't.
fine.
But what happens later on is just mind boggling and still terrifying to this day. Like, if I think about it too much, like, I will give myself so much anxiety. And I still have dreams about this house to this day. And
At least 4 times a week I have a dream about this
well,
house.
yeah. For me, it's slowed down some since I started acknowledging it.
Yeah.
But, like, I mean, there has not been a single month, at least, since we've left there that I haven't had at least a dream about it.
Yeah.
But sometimes it'll be, like, back to back.
Yeah.
Like, a few a week.
Yeah.
And then it'll calm down. Usually around October, which is when the biggest part of this happened. Usually around October is when I have the most dreams and the most horrifying dreams.
Yeah.
Because actually the week after our wedding, which was around the time that we ended up leaving for good, which, you know, back then, but our wedding was like this October that just happened. But around, let's see, that would have been the 12-year anniversary of when we left there. I started having nightmares about somebody murdering our dad there.
Yeah.
And that really messed with me because I did not know that he was going on a camping trip with our uncle.
He did tell me, but he didn't give me the memo.
He didn't tell me, and I was calling him. I drove to his house. I was beating on the door. I was losing it because this dream was so horrifying, and then I couldn't get a hold of him because I didn't know he was on a freaking camping trip.
For like 5 days.
Yeah. Oh, when I tell you I was losing it, and then finally I called her and was freaking out. She was like, B, he's on a camping trip. And I was like,
yeah.
Why I yada? You know, like, people's elbow. Like, I'm going to fight both of you. Anywho, he's fine.
But thank you for tuning in.
I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. Please join us for part 2, and who knows, maybe even part 3. We're going to try to get this, you know, series out to you in the best way possible. And so please stay tuned. We have actually never told this story together, so there's a lot of added
No.
elements
Yeah.
that I probably don't remember or haven't heard, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
kind of on this ride with y'all right now. Thank you again for joining us. We hope you have a great night. Please like and subscribe wherever it is down here. I don't know. And stay tuned. We will be posting a new episode with the second part of the Barn series in probably a few days. So we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.